So the developers of a game called Captain Wayne Vacation Desperation reached out and asked that their game be reviewed. And to be clear, while a free code was offered by the creators, we did decide to purchase it of our own volition. Captain Wayne Vacation Desperation is a first-person movement-based shooter, or a boomer shooter as it's so typically called. You play as Captain Wayne, a dude with a boat and a metal arm that is also a double-barreled shotgun. He gets tricked into going to a place called Orca Isle and gets ambushed by this mercenary group called the Killer Whales. Turns out there's this guy named King, that's King, not the King, who's going after him because Wayne stole and sold his crown, and tries to have him blasted to pieces. He survives, but with his ship having been stolen, he's stranded in his nemesis's territory. At first, he's out for blood, killing everyone in his way, but it soon becomes clear that the villains are doing something sinister, so he teams up with a persistent Detective Stanley to stop their insidious plans, whatever they may be. While the gameplay is solid, it's pretty clear that it's the simply animated cutscenes that really define the game. It's clearly going for this TV show cartoon vibe, what with its visuals offering exaggerated qualities, jagged line work, vibrant coloring, and fun character designs. Macabre visualization contrasts with this, which is darkly humorous. The characters reinforce that cartoonish feel, Captain Wayne's loose cannon nature bringing a fun personality, and his metal arm brings a distinct gimmick, similar to other shows whose main characters have their own such gadgets and gizmos. You have King, the flamboyant head honcho, his dorky subordinate lieutenants, and disposable henchmen. And the detective, well, you just can't help but love the guy.
Where should I be heading?
Right the hell off my boat!
Rounding it all off with some pretty good voice acting, you've got yourself a cast of characters that can give you a pretty fun time. The way it sets up its story and characters is pretty interesting because we don't really get any background on these guys. Wayne gives the air of an experienced, notorious adventurer, but we don't know anything of his past exploits or why he even has a metal double-barrel shotgun arm. It seems to be implied there's some sort of long-standing beef between Wayne and King, but aside from him stealing the crown, we don't get anything on that front either. It more or less just jumps in without giving much context. It felt like maybe we were missing something, perhaps a preceding video game, webcomic, or some sort of YouTube miniseries. Even the title itself implies that it's an all-new adventure in an already established series. But no, as far as we can tell, this is the first of its kind within the world of Captain Wayne. Even though this means you lack context to the wider world, if it even exists at all, it is pretty neat that it's set up this way. It gives the feeling of when you stumble on a random episode of a show that you've never seen before, but after watching it for just 5 minutes, you get the gist of the whole thing. Pirate, metal arm shotgun, angry bad guys, adventure. Now have fun gunning down those villains. Speaking of blasting away at baddies, while the cutscenes are definitely the best part here, the gameplay is absolutely solid. It kind of falls into the category of Doom clone boomer shooter. Admittedly, we're not familiar with that genre here, though it does seem par for the course. Early 3D graphics, 2D sprites for the enemies, hand-drawn first-person animations providing character and grit. The screen is filled with stimuli to keep you glued to it, aided by the sound effects and thumping music to really get you in the mood. You go from one arena-style part of the map, kill everyone there, and then you go to another arena-style of the map and do much of the same. You might discover a hidden area, or have to collect a hidden key to unlock a door, but for the most part, you're here to kill people. You basically have two separate health pools, Gusto and Health. Gusto is your armor, letting you tank more hits, while Health is just health. If you lose it, you die. The enemies are many, so you'll be tanking a lot of hits. Luckily, there's health pickups aplenty, letting you keep yourself alive while continuing the carnage. The distribution of health items feels appropriate, enough to keep you afloat, but not to the point where you're totally indestructible. You can have a max of 200 Gusto and Health. However, if you go over 100, it'll slowly tick down, incentivizing the player to move as fast as possible to make the most use out of their excess health before it fades away. Meanwhile, your Metal Fist starts with the ability to punch, uppercut, and stun enemies, but by far their most powerful melee attack involves you charging up to dash forward in an electric flurry. It also functions as a double-barrel shotgun that can fire one or both shells at once. It remains a viable weapon throughout the game, partly because it's quite powerful, able to one-shot grunts at close range, and partly because it's just so damn satisfying to do so. Trying trying to reload with both shells still loaded plays a pretty funny animation too, and it's so cool that they put that in. And then you can kick at any time, useful for stunning an enemy while reloading or switching weapons, although more importantly, you can pair it with a jump, letting you fly long distances in no time at all. It feels great to just jump around the map like a lunatic, landing kicks while blasting away. Throughout the game, you'll get access to the many other functions of Captain Wayne's metal arm. The chain gun is a fully automatic machine gun that requires some time to warm up, but once it does, it shoots crazy fast, albeit inaccurately. Mowing down enemies feels so great with this thing, but it chews through ammo fast. Its secondary firing mode shoots slowly but more accurately, making it suited for more long-range encounters, although you're probably just better off getting closer to your target. You can lob bottles of boom brews or use the cannon to rapid-fire exploding projectiles, clearing out enemies great in strength or numbers, although curiously, the boom brew is its own dedicated weapon, when it would feel more appropriate as a tertiary one. The Cell Shocker can absolutely clear house with its ability to rapid-fire lightning bolts. However, you can't hold much ammo for it, and what little you do have gets used up fast, so you'll have to be smart about how you use it. But when you do, absolutely letting loose and destroying everything in sight feels so good. The diversity in weapons mesh well with the diversity in the enemy types. You've got your low-level grunts, numerous and easy to take out, but then you have melee-focused bruisers, relentless sunken smashers, and more fantastical enemies with their own crazy little abilities. So it's not exactly a mindless killing floor. In order to play the best you can, you'll have to adhere to some level of strategy to figure out what the enemies do and the best way to defeat them. The loop here is as good as it needs to be. The levels do go by quite fast, giving you some time to breathe with its amusing cutscenes before throwing you right back into the carnage. This goes on for about 5 to 7 hours, which feels like an appropriate length for the game. It offers a good chunk of playtime, finishes after you've experienced the best of what it has to offer, and it doesn't overstay its welcome, bringing it to a satisfying close. There are a bit of modern game-isms, particularly at the beginning. The player will come across obstacles that are pretty straightforward, yet the character still ham-fistedly vocalizes what needs to be done.
Gotta jump these boxes.
Wow. Thank you for ham-fistedly telling me that. I wouldn't have been able to figure it out otherwise. Granted, this only happens twice in the entire game back to back.
Ah, shit. Bingo. Open vent. Time to crouch inside.
Not the most obnoxious thing in the world, but it does razz your sides a bit. Aside from that, there are some more notable areas where Captain Wayne really falters. It does slow down considerably towards the end, at the King's Court, which is the longest level by far. The map just feels winding and convoluted, making it feel very tedious. It really winds you down, and it feels like the fast-paced shooter formula stumbles here. The campaign is kind of a one-and-done deal. It's good while it lasts, so there's not much reason to go for a replay, which is totally fine because the sheer novelty is enough. But there is a lingering sense of disappointment that, for such a wacky and vibrant world, it's not fleshed out enough to make you want to come back and be a part of it. That's not to say there's no replayability at all, of course. The game does offer some replayability with its Riptide mode. You get introduced to this girl named Barbara, a bombshell babe, or at least that's how the game tries to portray her. She looks alright. She tells you that those killer whale guys are guarding treasure or something like that, and you've got to survive an onslaught of them to get it. So yeah, Riptide Rampage is an endless wave mode, and as far as these types of modes go, it's nothing special to be honest. You can choose from a selection of maps, which, credit where it's due, are set in some pretty interesting locations and can provide some interesting avenues of gameplay. But basically, it throws you in an arena, and you take on ever-increasing waves of enemies that introduce more powerful types as it goes on. The point is to rack up money, which acts as your score. The stronger the enemy, the more money you get. If you kill enemies fast enough, you'll rack up a combo, earning yourself bonus points, which encourages players to stay in the action. After a certain amount of waves, you can choose to exit the map, which gives you a higher final score than if you keep going until you die. So it's basically a gamble of, do you want to secure your score or risk going even higher? Score does matter because it determines your rank and trophy. The higher the score, the better both will be, the latter of which can be collected in the hub's trophy room. As you can tell by ours, this mode didn't really hold much interest. It's not really challenging since the player has access to a near endless amount of respawning health and ammo pickups. If you're running low on either, you can just jump kick to another side of the map and resupply. It's just mindlessly slaying enemies for the most part. Fun in quick bursts perhaps, but the lack of any challenge and the waves themselves feeling like they drag on and on after a certain point, meaning you'll likely be setting it down sooner rather than later. The real kicker is that, for whatever reason, saves are still enabled. At any time, whether after a wave or in between, you can choose to save or load a file, so if you die, you can just reload to an earlier save, which kind of defeats the point of an endless mode. What's the point of trying to survive for as long as possible if, when you die, you can just revert to an earlier save and try again? That being said, Riptide Rampage is a decent mode for what it is. It's a mode where combat is front and center, and the combat in this game is pretty good, and that's really all that matters. It's more content for an already pretty substantial game, so it certainly doesn't hurt to have. And that's Captain Wayne Vacation Desperation. For a game like this, it brings about what you'd expect to the table. The movement feels good, the weapons and kills are satisfying, and the art and simple animation helps it stand out a little more in its genre. It's a lightweight, fun experience while it lasts. Captain Wayne Vacation Desperation gets a 7.5 out of 10. As far as recommendations, it's pretty cut and dry. If you see the gameplay and you think it looks appealing, you'll probably like it. $10 is a pretty good price as well, though the more savvy customer might be willing to wait for a sale. Anyways, am I the only one who wants to call it Captain Wayne Treasure Tracker? I don't know, for some reason it keeps popping into my head. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. This was the Jedivision, and I'm still Mac. You all have a good one.